I was 68 years old when a 6-year-old girl I had never seen before looked me straight in the eyes and said, "That's my dad." The school secretary froze. The principal stopped mid-sentence. My wife's hand slipped out of mine, and I just stood there, staring at this child who had my late son's eyes. But here's the thing. My son had been dead for 7 years, and I had never known she existed. You're probably wondering how a man my age ends up standing in a school office, being claimed by a child he's never met. Let me tell you, because what happened next didn't just change my life. It destroyed my family. My name is Harold. I'm 69 now, but this story begins when I was 62. Back then, I thought I had it all figured out. A wife of 41 years named Diane. 2 grown children. My son Marcus, who passed away at 34, and my daughter Linda, who lived 3 hours away with her husband. I had retired from 38 years as a civil engineer, built bridges, highways, things that lasted. I thought families were supposed to last too. After Marcus died in a car accident, Diane and I were broken. He was our youngest, our gentle one, the one who called every Sunday just to talk. We never fully healed, but we had each other, or so I thought. 3 months after Marcus died, my daughter Linda came to visit. She sat at our kitchen table and said something I'll never forget. "Dad, you need to update your will." I remember looking at her, confused. Marcus had just been buried, and she was talking about money. "Linda, your brother just died," I said quietly. "I know," she replied. "That's exactly why we need to talk about this now, before things get complicated." Diane nodded. She agreed with Linda. I should have seen it then. But grief makes you blind. I signed the papers Linda's lawyer had prepared. I didn't read them carefully. I trusted my daughter. That was my first mistake. Over the next few years, things changed slowly. Linda visited more often, not to see me, but to check on the house. She started asking questions. "Dad, have you thought about moving somewhere smaller? Dad, this house is too much for you to maintain. Dad, wouldn't you be happier in a retirement community?" I always said no. This was the house Marcus grew up in. I wasn't leaving. But Linda didn't stop, and Diane started agreeing with her. "Maybe she's right, Harold. Maybe it's time." I didn't understand why my wife was suddenly on Linda's side until I found out the truth. It happened on a Tuesday. I was looking for my old tax documents in the filing cabinet when I found something strange. A folder I didn't recognize. Inside were legal papers. A power of attorney, giving Linda full control over my finances. A revised deed, transferring ownership of my house to Linda and Diane. And a letter from a lawyer I had never met. I sat down slowly. My hands were shaking. I read the documents again, and again. They had my signature on them. But I had never signed these papers. Or if I had, I didn't remember doing it. That's when I heard Diane's voice behind me. "Harold, what are you doing in here?" I turned around, and for the first time in 41 years of marriage, I looked at my wife and didn't recognize her. "What is this?" I asked, holding up the papers. Diane's face went pale. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Just some paperwork Linda helped us with." "Helped us?" I repeated. "Diane, this says the house belongs to Linda now. This says she controls our money." "It's just for protection," Diane said. "In case something happens to you." "In case something happens to me?" I stood up slowly. "Diane, I'm not sick. I'm not dying. I'm 65 years old, and I still walk 3 miles every morning." She didn't answer. She just looked at the floor, and that silence told me everything. I called a lawyer the next day. His name was Richard Stein, 70 years old himself, retired but still sharp. He looked at the documents and shook his head. "Harold, Some of these signatures don't match your handwriting. What does that mean? I asked. It means either you signed these under duress or someone forged them. I felt sick. Can we undo this? Richard nodded slowly. We can try, but it won't be easy, and it won't be quiet. I didn't care. I wanted the truth, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. A week later, I received a phone call from a school in a town 40 minutes away. A woman's voice said, "Mr. Harold Price?" Yes. This is Jefferson Elementary. We have a student here whose emergency contact information lists you as her grandfather. Could you please come to the school? There's been an incident. I didn't understand. I think you have the wrong person, I said. I don't have any grandchildren. There was a pause. Sir, the child's name is Emma Clark. Her mother listed your son, Marcus Price, as the father. I dropped the phone. I drove to that school faster than I'd driven anywhere in years. I didn't tell Diane. I didn't call Linda. I just got in my car and went. When I arrived, I was escorted to principal's office, and that's when I saw her. A little girl with curly brown hair, green eyes, a small birthmark on her left ear, the same one Marcus had. She looked up at me, and she said, "That's my dad." Everyone in the room went silent. I knelt down slowly. "Sweetheart," I said carefully, "I'm not your dad, but I might be your grandpa." She tilted her head. "Mommy said my dad went to heaven, but she showed me pictures. You look like him." I couldn't speak. I just stared at this child who had Marcus's face, and I realized he had left someone behind, someone none of us knew about. The school explained that Emma's mother, a woman named Carla, had been in a relationship with Marcus years ago. They had broken up before Emma was born. Carla never told Marcus about the pregnancy. She never told us either. She had raised Emma alone for 6 years. But 3 months ago, Carla had been diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. She didn't have much time left, and she had finally decided to reach out. She had listed me as an emergency contact, hoping I would come, hoping I would take Emma when she was gone. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to feel. But when that little girl looked up at me and said, "Are you going to leave too?" I knew exactly what I was going to do. I met Carla the next day. She was thin, pale, but her eyes were kind. She apologized for keeping Emma a secret. "I was scared," she said. "I didn't think your family would accept us." "Why not?" I asked. She hesitated. "Because Marcus told me about his sister. He said she wouldn't approve." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Linda knew about you?" Carla nodded slowly. "She found out about Emma when Marcus was still alive. She told him to stay away from us. She said we would ruin the family's reputation." I sat back. My own daughter had known about this child. She had hidden it from me. She had let me grieve for Marcus without knowing he had left behind a daughter, and she had done it all to protect her inheritance. I went home that night and confronted Diane. "Did you know about Emma?" She didn't answer at first. Then, quietly, she said, "Linda told me. She said it was better if you didn't know." "Better for who?" I asked. "For the family." "That child," I asked, "family." I shouted. "She's Marcus's daughter. She has his eyes, his smile, and you kept her from me." Diane started crying. "I was trying to protect you," she said. "No," I replied. "You were trying to protect Linda's share of the inheritance." Diane didn't deny it, and that was the moment my marriage ended. Over the next few weeks, I worked with Richard Stein to undo everything. We challenged the forged documents. We proved that Linda had manipulated the power of attorney. We showed that Diane had been complicit, and we recovered ownership of my house. But I didn't stop there. I filed for legal guardianship of Emma. Carla, in her final weeks, signed the papers. She held my hand and said, "Promise me you'll love her." I already do, I said. Carla passed away 2 weeks later, and Emma came to live with me. When Linda found out, she was furious. She drove to my house and stormed inside. You can't do this, she said. That child isn't family. She's a stranger. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and I said something I never thought I would say. You're the stranger, Linda. You lied to me. You stole from me. You hid my granddaughter from me. And you let me believe I had nothing left of Marcus. Linda's face turned red. I did what was best for this family. No, I said calmly. You did what was best for yourself. I handed her an envelope. Inside was a legal notice. What's this? She asked. It's a restraining order, I said. You are no longer welcome in my home, or in Emma's life. She stared at me. You're choosing that child over your own daughter? No, I replied. I'm choosing Marcus's child, and I'm choosing the truth. Diane moved out a week later. We filed for divorce quietly. She didn't fight it. I think part of her knew she had lost me the moment she chose Linda over Marcus's memory. Linda tried to contest the guardianship, but the judge saw through her. He read the evidence. He saw the forged signatures. He heard Emma's testimony, recorded gently by a child psychologist, about how Grandpa Harold made her feel safe. The judge ruled in my favor. Full guardianship. No visitation for Linda or Diane. When the verdict was read, Linda screamed. Diane cried. But I just held Emma's hand and walked out of that courtroom. That was 3 years ago. Emma is 9 now. She calls me Grandpa, but sometimes she slips and calls me Dad. I don't correct her. She has Marcus's laugh, his curiosity, his way of asking questions that make you think. Every night, I show her pictures of him. I tell her stories. I make sure she knows who her father was and how much he would have loved her. Linda hasn't spoken to me since the trial. I hear she's struggling financially. The house she tried to steal from me, she never got it. And the inheritance she was so desperate to protect, I changed my will. Everything goes to Emma now. Diane reached out once, about a year ago. She sent a letter asking if we could talk. I read it, then I put it in a drawer. Maybe one day I'll reply, but not yet. Some wounds take longer to heal. People ask me sometimes if I'm angry, and the truth is, I was. For a long time, I was furious. At Linda, at Diane, at the years I lost with Emma. But anger doesn't build anything, and I spent my whole life building things. So I decided to build something new, a relationship with my granddaughter, a home filled with love instead of lies, a second chance I never expected. The other day, Emma came home from school with a drawing. It was a picture of 2 people holding hands, one tall, one small. She had written at the top, me and Grandpa. I asked her, why did you draw this? She looked up at me and said, because you came for me and you stayed. I didn't cry, but I held her for a long time. I'm 69 years old now. I've lost a son, a wife, a daughter, but I've gained something I never expected. A little girl who reminds me every day that love doesn't end with death. It just finds new places to grow. If you're watching this and you've been betrayed by the people you trusted most, I want you to know something. You are not powerless. You are not finished. And sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who teach you what family really means. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when everyone else walks away. Emma showed me that. And every day I spend with her, I'm grateful. Not for the betrayal, not for the pain, but for the second chance I almost didn't get. Some people think forgiveness means letting go of everything, but I've learned something different. Forgiveness means choosing peace over poison. It doesn't mean pretending the wound never happened. It means refusing to let it define you. I still visit Marcus's grave every month. I bring Emma with me. She puts flowers by his headstone and talks to him like he can hear her. Maybe he can. I like to think so. The last time we visited, Emma asked me a question. Grandpa, do you think Daddy's proud of us? I looked at her, and I said, Sweetheart, I think he'd been proud of you since the day you were born. And I think he brought us together because he knew we needed each other. She smiled, and for a moment, I could swear I saw Marcus in her eyes. I don't know how many years I have left, but I know this. I'm going to spend every single one of them making sure Emma knows she is loved, that she is wanted, that she belongs. Because that's what Marcus would have wanted. And that's what family, real family, is supposed to do. The quietest people are often the strongest, not because they don't feel pain, but because they know exactly what they're fighting for. And they never stop. Emma is my reason now, and I will never let anyone take that away. Not again.